Hello. Hi Rahul, can you hear can you hear
Hi.
me?
Uh, yeah, I could hear you, sir.
Yes, yes. And thanks for joining the interview. So we'll start ahead with your interview. So just introduce about yourself.
Yeah, uh, yeah. So totally, I have around 5.3 years of experience. So in the span, I have worked on four projects. So I have worked in two companies on four projects, and I have worked on different technologies like C Sharp, .NET, MVC, Angular, SQL, and also on ASP.NET Web API. So coming to my first project, the first project was SSP. So it was on travel manage. It is used to record the travel management happening in an organization. It was an internal application, and I used C Sharp, .NET MVC, and SQL technologies on it. And next, coming to my second project, so it was LinQ. The project, it was like an automation testing project. And what we will do is, using C Sharp coding, we will be using automating a mobile device application. And next, coming to my third project, the project was called as Leo, and it consists. It is a web application where we used Angular, C Sharp, .NET technologies, and to develop an app. So it is moreover like a law application where all other lawyers could enter into it, and they could search for the particular laws and they could define them. And so based on it, there will be different authentications for each users. For example, if a lawyer is if the lawyer is entering into the application, he will be given some additional privileges, and for a law student there will be different privileges. For a normal user there will be different privileges based on the
Okay.
requirement. And then
Great, great.
the last project and the current project which I working is Denko. So it is
Hmm.
it's like a UI updation where we used to configure the UI, and here we use C Sharp, SQL, and also we use JSON scripting for configuration purpose.
That's great. Okay. Okay. So just introduce about your technical skills.
Yeah.
Your technical skills.
Yeah, I have good knowledge in C Sharp. So throughout the span, like of around 5.3 years, I've been working only on C Sharp. And then
Mm-hmm.
with respect to and also on SQL, I have worked on around 3 years on SQL. With respect to
Okay.
Angular, I have worked on
Mhm.
1.5 years.
Okay. So you worked on ASP.NET MVC.
Yeah, ASP.NET MVC, it was on a short span, like around 7 months, and I was trained in ASP.NET MVC.
Okay. Okay. Fine. So thanks for your introduction. So we'll. I just want you to just rate yourself, like based on technology. So can you rate yourself
Sure.
in C sharp out of five?
Out of 5, I could give 4.5.
4.5. Okay. So what about SQL Server?
Um, okay, for on SQL Server, I will rate it as 3.7.
Okay. Okay. So then Angular.
Uh, Angular, I would rate it to 4.
Oh, so what about ASP.NET MVC?
ASP.NET MVC, I will rate it as 3.5.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Fine. So have you worked on ASP.NET MVC web APIs?
Yeah, I have worked on it.
So how would you rate yourself on that?
3.
Okay. Great. So let me go ahead and start with C sharp.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So what do you mean by OOPS concept? Like, what do you understand out of it?
Okay, so OOPS concept, the name defines it. So like it's an object-oriented programming language where we play with the objects. So OOPS
Okay.
concept consists of different strategies like there is inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, interfaces. These are the
Hmm.
main concepts of OOPS, where will be
Okay.
where will be dealing with the creation of an object and using of an object in a different ways.
Okay. Okay. Great. Great. So
Yeah,
can you please
and
explain it
if
one by one? Yeah.
yeah, okay. First, let me start with inheritance. So, inheritance is name it as a class A, and I want to derive the class, let me tell it as a class B. So when the class B is derived from class A, the class B can access all the methods present on the class A. So that is
Mm-hmm.
called as inheritance. We are
Mm-hmm. Okay.
inheriting a class.
Okay.
And second is polymorphism. So
Mm-hmm.
polymorphism, as the name defines it, polymorphism is something like a confused state. For example,
Mm-hmm.
the method overriding comes into picture in polymorphism, like
Okay.
dynamic polymorphism, static polymorphism. We have overloading and overriding. So
Mm-hmm.
when there is we create an object with a parent entity, with a parent object reference, what will happen is which there will be a situation like which method will be called. If there is the same method on both the classes, which method needs to
Mm-hmm.
be called? In that case, there will be a polymorphism will get occurs. So that time we will be using override. We will be using method overriding and method hiding to call the
Mm-hmm.
particular method which is required for us.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And next, abstraction. So
Mm-hmm.
abstraction, in the sense, the abstraction will consist of a method which is declared but not defined. So abstraction can have any number of methods, like any number of abstract methods within it. It will also have a normal methods as well, along with the abstract methods. That's abstraction.
Okay.
Next, the last comes the interfaces. So interfaces. So in abstraction, there could be normal methods as well as the abstract methods, where the methods are defined as well as
Okay.
an abstract method. Whereas in case of interfaces, it consists of only abstract methods. The methods will
Okay.
be only be
Actually,
declared but not defined.
what I feel here is like you got confused between abstract keyword and abstraction. See,
Uh,
yeah, actually, abstraction is nothing but we're hiding some of the information from the user.
yeah,
Okay.
correct.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. For an example, as I said, like you have a property defined inside a class,
Hmm.
and you don't want the property to expose to outside of the class. So that like you'll
Yeah.
make sure, and you're using private keyword, and you'll use getter set methods to pass the values, making that a property as a public property. So that is something like abstraction. That means like just take your example, mobile phone as an example. Okay. So what is happening inside you don't care, right? So the
No,
entire process,
the
yeah, yeah,
no hiding of data comes into picture in terms
yeah.
of
That encapsulation
encapsulation,
is
right?
fine, but abstraction is
Yeah.
something like that is also like there is something like we just have to make sure
Yeah.
there are
Uh,
some parts of the code are like some part of the things which you have to show to your user. And
correct.
abstract
Correct.
is a keyword, so that will come the later. Just I'm just going to maybe ask you in the coming hours. So yeah, just that is good explanation on the abstraction. So you're explaining about the interface. Go ahead with that.
Yeah. So interface consists of only of abstract methods within it, where the method will be only declared but not defined. So interfaces can be used at it is now currently the interface has a major role in dependency injection and other places as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the main reason why the interface came into picture is we can make multiple inheritance possible in C
Yeah,
sharp using interfaces.
yeah. Actually, I was expecting that word, multiple intent. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for the explanation about the OOPS concepts. So let's go on to the next question. So, like, what is the difference between like have you ever used abstract keyword or the abstract classes?
Yeah.
Okay, so why do we need abstract? So actually, we do have interfaces as well, right? So
Yeah.
interfaces and abstract. So what do you like interfaces? Nothing but all the things whatever you have, it's like abstract methods, right? It will not have any implementation or something else.
Yeah.
Even though we have all those, so why do we need abstract class?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So in abstract class, I told you before. So abstract class can have an abstract method as well as some other defined methods within it. So what will
Mm-hmm.
happen is when there are two classes, maybe we can take an example as a credit card and debit card. So
Mm-hmm.
those two classes may have some functionalities which are common to both a credit card and debit card.
Yeah,
So
that's good. Yeah.
those functionality can be put under abstract class. And
Mm-hmm.
instead of creating a one by one, like I want to, if I want to create it separately, I will create that same functionality will be implemented in credit card class as well as the
Yeah.
same implementation will be done on debit card class. Instead of
So
that,
you mean
what
to
we could
say
do
that
is,
abstract class will act as a base class for
yeah,
other
it
all
will
virtual
act as a
classes?
base class and it will be derived
Yeah.
by these two classes. and the
Yes.
method the reverse writing of methods will be reduced.
Okay. So that's great. Okay. So okay. Can abstract class contain constructor?
Yeah, abstract class can have a constructor.
So when do you call the like a see? First of all, right? Like we can't create an object for abstract classes.
Yeah, so but when we
So
create a child
uh,
yeah, when we create a child class and we derive from that abstract class, so when we
mhm.
create an object, the abstract class object could be called.
Great, great. That's good. Super. Okay. Let me move on to the next one. So have you heard of virtual keyword?
Yeah.
What or else virtual method? So what is the, actually what do you see the major difference between just like instead of theoretical, I just want to know like why like abstract and the virtual. So 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 what do you see the differences?
Virtual in the sense you're asking about a virtual keyword which we use in during
Yeah,
method overriding.
exactly. So like what do you see the difference? Like we know here also we are using abstract keyword and
Mm.
we are overriding that. So here
Mm.
also we are using virtual keyword. So we are no we are just overriding that method also. So uh, what do you think this virtual?
Okay, so in case of a virtual, what will happen? What we can do is we have a method defined it. Okay, it is not in case of abstract, it is only declared, but no definition will be there for that method. Whereas in case of virtual, there will be a definition for that method, and that
Hmm.
definition could be used when we create an object for a parent. So in that
Hmm.
case, we will be making use of a virtual keyword and we will be accessing it.
Okay, that's great. Fine. So this is about the virtual and abstract keywords. So right.
Mm.
So there is one more like one more question I have. Is it mandatory to implement all the abstract methods inside of a class
Yeah,
when
so
you
it is
implementing
yeah,
somewhere?
it's mandatory to implement all the abstract methods within a class. If we are not
Hmm.
implementing it, then we need to derive we should make that class as a abstract, and again we need to derive another class, and we need to implement it over there.
Okay, that's great. Okay. So now let me go to the next question. So what is managed and unmanaged code?
Okay, so managed code is something like we'll be using MSIL scripts to be running. It will be going under the process of CLR, Common Language Runtime,
Okay.
where the code will be converted into an intermediate language code, and that code will be again be converted into a machine level code. And we
Hmm.
when the code is managed, the automatically it will be making use of garbage collectors, exception handling. All those will be carried out at the code base level itself. Whereas if you take
Okay.
unmanaged code, we are directly
Uh-huh.
executing on the operating system. We are not converting we are not the code is being directly executed on the operating system without any
Okay.
further changes on them. There will be no garbage collection performed on them, no exception handling, no compilations, all these things.
Okay. Okay. So what is garbage collection in C sharp?
Yeah, garbage collection is something like so when there is unused we are creating different objects, like many objects will be created, and those objects will be stored on heap. So
Mm-hmm.
when the size of an object exceeds a particular limit, the garbage collector what it does is it will just remove the objects which are in unused. Whatever the objects are
Okay.
unused, it will just remove them.
Mm. Okay. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me move on
It
to the.
improves, yeah, it improves the memory management.
Okay. So what do you see the differences between ref and out keywords?
Okay, so ref keyword stands for when a variable is passed using a ref keyword,
Mm-hmm.
it is passed as a reference. So what will happen is if any changes is done on the calling environment, and if a method
Mm-hmm.
calls us, it will be reflected back to the called environment. For example, if I'm setting inside a method, if I setting it a plus b equal to 100, and I'm setting a equal to 20 within a method, and outside the method I'm setting a equal to 10, and then if I'm passing the variable, and there if I'm
Mm-hmm.
setting a equal to 20, again it will be written back as a equal to 20 only, not as 10. So that's the
Okay.
use of ref keyword. And out keyword is something like when a variable is passed as out, the value will be set within that the value will not be initialized outside. The value will be defined and initial. Well, the value will be initialized, but it will not be defined. It will be defined only inside the method.
Okay. So the
For
next question
example,
is,
if I'm
yeah.
doing if I'm performing some action and I want to set some parameters out of it. So what I do
Mhm.
is I could set that using the output parameter. I could set that variable and I could send it back.
So you mean to say like, so let me ask you on simple questions here. So how do you return multiple values from a method?
uh, Multiple values from a method.
Yeah.
uh,
Say that like you can have only one return type, right? So how do you pass one more return?
Using params.
You it's already explained about that.
Yeah, using params.
Uh, yep. I mean, just go ahead and check this. I mean, this is a very important question. So,
Okay, you
already
mean
you told, right? So out
using
keyword. So out
reference.
keyword something like, yeah. So out is something like it acts as a, see whatever the variable you are passing into the method. So we are
Hmm.
doing same, say that like we're passing a value 5 inside
Hmm.
the method.
Hmm.
Okay. So so what you have to do, you just have to go back and think like you are going to, what do you call, you're going to just make a particular thing as out, so that that
Hmm.
particular thing will get calculated, and
Yeah.
obviously you will get the the result as multiple values returned from a method. So this is how we can just do that. So whatever the
Okay.
value
Okay.
gets updated, it will just return back. It will get updated in the calling method. Okay.
Okay.
So let me
Okay.
ask the next question. So have you ever used extension methods?
What?
Extension methods.
Okay. Extension method. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, extension method is used to extend the methods of a class without affecting the source code.
Okay. So can you
Yeah.
please provide me an example?
So for example, I have a class named as EE, and I have around three methods in it, and there are another two methods I want to add in it. Class A was written by a different user. So now if I
Okay.
alter it, and if I alter the source code, and if I add the two methods again, if there will be some other guys who will come and add another three methods or two methods to it. So in that case,
Okay.
the source code will not be maintained properly. So in order to maintain it, what we can do is we can extend the method. Like I could
Mhm.
create another static class. Within it I can put a static methods, and
Mhm.
within the static methods I could pass this space the class name as a parameter, and using that I could extend the methods of that particular class A. Hello.
Yeah, you can hear me now, right?
Yeah, I'm able to hear you.
Fine. So that was
Hello.
a good explanation on the.
Yeah, your voice is little bit low.
Yeah, please. Yeah, Rahul, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I'm able to hear you.
Yeah. Sorry for the interruption. So my next question is, what are all generics in C sharp?
What are all?
Generics. Have you heard of generics?
Yeah.
Yeah. Please give me an example and explain about that. Yeah.
Okay. So generics comes into picture when I don't want to define the type of element. I'm having a method as a, and there are two parameters passed in it, and I
Mhm.
want to perform some of them, or I
Mhm.
want to just put them, and I want to just
Mhm.
display that value. So in
Okay.
that case, if the value is int, if I pass the value as int, it should be displaying them. And also, if in case of string, I need to create another method. And
Okay.
in place of yeah, different variable, sorry, different data types, I need to create different methods. So to avoid it, what we can do is we can make use of generics. So in
Mhm.
generics, we can just pass it as a t, and over the top, when we are creating, we can just make it as a we can just pass it as a int or a string or any other data types that are required. So that is the main advantage of generic, and that's why it comes into picture.
Okay.
And yeah. and along with the collection, generic plays a major role. Like
Mhm.
we can create a collection like non. There are two types: non-generic collection and generic collection. So within generic collections, we have a list and dictionaries. So all those things.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. So, what are all partial classes in C sharp? I've heard of partial classes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What do you mean by that?
So partial class is something like we the portion of a class like there are for a class we need to write around 6 to 7 methods. So what we can do is we can split the class as a partial class, and
Mhm.
we can create 3 to 4 methods. We can put it in one class, and 2 3 methods into another partial class.
Okay.
And when we build the solution, what will happen is this partial class will be combined
Mhm.
as a single class during
Okay.
the compilation,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, during the runtime.
Okay,
Yeah,
fine. So you mean to say like the multiple classes split it up, and at the end of the compilation, it will be like a single class, right? That's about the
yeah, yeah,
partial.
correct. Yeah.
Okay. So have you heard of late binding and early binding?
uh yeah.
Okay. Can you please just explain me what is the late binding and early
uh,
binding?
yeah, but I remember the concept, but I'm not sure. Like
Okay.
late binding is something like the binding will happen at the runtime, and early binding is something like the binding of parameters and other things happen at the compile time itself.
Mm-hmm. See, the best thing is for this late and early binding are the one is the best example for the OOPS concept
Hmm.
polymorphism. Okay. So for an
Okay.
example, when say like one function calculate, I say that we have a function called calculate a bill. Okay, it will
Okay.
calculate the
Hmm.
bill and of a primary customers, basic customers, and semi-premium customers. Say that we have different
Hmm.
kinds of customers based on the policies, the different policies they have. Okay,
Okay.
calculation for all the customers based objects done differently using the same function, which is called as a polymorphism. Right. So when an
Okay.
object
Hmm.
is
Yeah.
assigned to an object variable C sharp, the daughter framework performs the binding. Right. When
Okay.
when
Yeah.
the binding function happens at the compile time, it's called as early binding.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's all. Yeah.
It
Hmm.
investigates and checks the methods and properties of a static objects. Now with early
Hmm.
binding, number of runtime errors decreases substantially and it executes pretty quickly.
Correct.
Okay. So when it comes to the binding happens at the runtime, it's called as late binding. So the late
Okay.
binding happens when the objects are dynamically, decided based on
Hmm.
the data they hold at the runtime. So
Okay.
it stores as it looks through the during the runtime. This is something like I mean the differences between the late
Okay.
binding and the early binding.
Okay, so method overloading is early binding and method
Yeah,
overriding is a
whatever
late
whatever
binding,
whatever
right?
happens at the compile time, right? So called as early binding.
Yeah,
So whatever
like
happens at the
var and
runtime,
dynamic
yeah.
keywords. So when we will use var, it is compile time, and when we use dynamic, it will be at the runtime.
Yes. That's true.
Okay.
Yep. Uh, okay. So I guess pretty much okay with the C sharp questions. And
Okay.
can I move on to the next one? Can I
Yeah,
go?
sure.
So you rated yourself as Angular. Uh, I guess 4 out of 5, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So okay, why do you think we need Angular?
Yeah, Angular comes into, yeah. Previously, we have different types of coding languages like JavaScript and other things which were used on the client side, where which it will interact on the client side and fetch the data.
Mm-hmm.
So the advantage of Angular is it is a single page application. It has only a
Mm-hmm.
single HTML file, and all what will happen is the particular same HTML file will be rewritten every time when a component is called. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the main basic advantage of Angular. And then it is flexible and extensible, so it can be used across different platforms,
Okay.
and it could receive different web service messages, and it could just implement those changes whichever is required. So that, and the most important is it has modularity,
Okay.
where
Mm-hmm.
yeah, where it works on MEC principle, MEC architecture, where there is each functionality will be done on separate different modules.
Okay. Okay. So have you ever worked on unit testing in Angular 4 or Angular 4 plus?
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, using Jasmine we have worked on
Mm-hmm.
unit testing.
So you're already aware of how you can write test cases, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So why do you think we need to write unit test cases?
Yeah, unit test cases majorly we write because there
Mm-hmm.
are various advantages of writing a unit test case. Like different, we will be writing a code for a single scenario, whereas we can
Mm-hmm.
debug and we can test it for different scenarios for the particular component which we have written. And the second thing is we can check the performance whether.
Yeah.
So, for example, I'm calling a SQL
One
server.
minute,
From the
Rahul.
SQL
I
server
guess
is
we have to join another meeting. It's saying like in less than 1 minute, this meeting will get over. So if it
okay. Okay.
the meeting stops, so we'll start another meeting. So let's wait for it and see. Yeah, just go ahead and explain. If it disconnects, we'll just
Okay.
start a
Sure.
new meeting. Okay.
Okay, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if I'm getting values from the SQL and then if I'm getting values from the C sharp,
Mhm,
so like there are the different layers of the data transaction, and when our
mhm,
application is slower, we will not be able to identify whether the issue is because of Angular or because of Visual Studio or because of SQL. From
mhm.
where the performance has got degraded. So in that case, what we can do is we can just make use of unit test